attention a little bit longer. Okay. Any comments or questions?
You just exit. It's tricky.
Ooh, must have been very, very tense.
Well, we said that it was all of these, you know.
Okay.
And I'm thinking in terms that humanity is very complex. And as you come across adversity, there has to be a point within that adversity that you step back and you see the God within that person. I mean, I'm talking about myself as a Christian.
Okay.
My church just started a group. We started a group, myself and other members of the church, people of color. And there was one gentleman, he's kind of heavy, sad, very intrusive with his delivery. He's Hispanic, and he's big, and he knows that he's big, and he knows his persona.
He's powerful.
He's powerful.
He's a powerful
and
guy.
When we
Okay.
have a meeting, he positions himself at the head of the table.
I see.
And it's basically all women, and the only gentleman that's there, he's gay, and he seems like he's intimidated by him. He's also
I see.
Latino.
Okay.
So it's like me and another person in the group, we got together. She told me he went to another group and he just totally blasted this person and said things about the group that we did not believe to be true. He was talking for himself, not for us. So we got this whole agenda together. And so we came to the meeting and we were together. We said, no, we're going to really talk to Daniel. He's not going to be the superpower here. It's like a co-leader. So we decided the group is a leadership.
Okay.
And we're all powerful. It's not one person because
All
it
right,
perpetuates the whole
Okay.
hierarchy of the church and people of color feeling like they're lorded over. So we got there, we were prepared, and we told him this, and we didn't give him a chance to talk.
Okay.
He took his position of power, and we were all there, and we leaned in, and we told him how this is going to be. And we were very successful.
Okay.
Because he couldn't argue, because we definitely told him, we understand how you feel, and we consider that, and that idea of not that person that you feel might have been doing a sinful thing. You got to look at that person and say, even though you've sinned, I acknowledge you, and I still love you as a person
So
and a
it
child
sounds like
of
a
God.
very rich process of dealing with a real ambiguous sort of power scenario. And church life is filled with those scenarios. I mean, that's like the daily diet of church life. So why is that a great story? Well, you were willing to stay in relationship, seems to me, among other things you did, but that was one of them. That's the main thing you did. You were willing to stay in relationship with that person who was a pretty alienating, hard-to-like person, it seems like, right? Within the life of that group. It was a sort of pretty kind of a destructive track. So that was really a wonderful outcome. And, and it's part of the messiness of our respective awakenings. And we do have to invest one another in that work. I think it's important work for one another. Thank you. That's a really good example. Other comments? Yes.
I guess one that we talked about is that organizational leadership is necessary in some ways, but that it should be used to empower. Like a manager should not be saying, I have power over you, I'm going to control you and tell you how to do your job. They should be saying, how can I empower you to do your job to the best of your ability individually and collectively. The idea of holarchy, like, but just that hierarchy is inherently sinful if it's done right. There's just a lot of potential for it to be done wrong. But even in families, like, parents are hierarchically over children, but children need order, they need discipline, they need boundaries to develop normally. So in that sense, that's an example of a hierarchy where if it's done properly, even though there's potential for abuse and control.
But they need that dignity, but they need the gift of dignity too, you see. So that's that really powerful dialectic even within parent-child relationships, in terms of children coming into their authentic worth sort of thing. Yes.
We were talking a little bit about whether sin is bad or is sin necessary.
Necessary, yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of, we kind of got into like a more existential sort of place with it, but
that sounds like fun.
yeah. But I guess it would part of where my thinking was going is, so why is there something instead of nothing? Why does God manifest in some way?
Okay.
And kind of going off of your article, you seem to indicate that there there's some sort of modeling that God does, or that we become aware of something in God that reflects something, a process that's happening with us internally.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
So I was wondering, questioning whether sin is in the nature of God.
Okay.
Is perhaps there's something instead of nothing, because God had this sort of loneliness of being just a unified nothingness in a certain sense.
Okay.
And that creates form or the universe as a way of kind of having this othering and having that tension. Is that why there's sin? And then kind of going along with that, if sin is a necessary part of reality and perhaps something within the nature of God, is there also a necessary element of evil?
Okay.
Does that have something to do with the nature of God?